Our official mission statement is to create community-based solutions to mental health challenges and the effects of social injustices through arts, advocacy, and enterprise. So by enterprise, I mean social enterprise. We're actually creating businesses that can sell, create revenue, and continue to create the kind of revenue that we can reinvest in the company to further grow our programs.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Kevin Naruse. He's the Communications Director at Painted Brain. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kelsey. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you. So Kevin, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So right now I'm the Communications Director at Painted Brain. I started as the social media manager at the agency. I think around in 2015, I was a volunteer. I started there. And they didn't have a social media department at the time. They had an intern sort of like handling that, and that intern left. And so in 2015, I sort of said, hey, let me create a department here because we really see a lot of growth potential with social media in this regard. So they hired me, thank God. And then everything started from there. And we did manage to continue to build our online community through, all the initiatives that we did through social media. And at this point, we can say that we have 100,000 plus followers total across our social media channels. And the whole idea is that this is a mental health organization, that we're here to to break the stereotype about people that have mental illnesses as invalids, and to really show people can actually create an organization and to run it successfully and even to produce a profit. And so that is, to us, is the biggest anti-stigma message that we can think of. And I know there's a lot of stigma in mental health. It's very prevalent. I mean, I hate to say it, but the media and Hollywood tend to exacerbate the stigma to make it look like, people that have severe mental illnesses are dangerous or unpredictable or cause violence. And we're here to say we create an organization that now does contract with the state and local agencies to help other people to become self-sufficient.
Yeah. So tell me, you talked about, how Painted Brain is working to, fight the stigma of mental health illness. Break down for me, exactly what is Painted Brain.
So our official mission statement is to create community-based solutions to mental health challenges and the effects of social injustices through arts, advocacy, and enterprise. So by enterprise, I mean social enterprise. We're actually creating businesses that can sell, create revenue, and continue to create the kind of revenue that we can reinvest in the company to further grow our programs.
Yeah. So give me some examples of kind of what the work looks like for Painted Brain.
For me, at least, what I consider the most noteworthy at Painted Brain is our Project New Start. Okay. This is something that was a result of California State funding a program that allows people who have had a history of incarceration, who had mental illnesses, to be able to get a job. And we know how difficult it is for somebody who has a background of who's justice involved, and the barriers involved. It's very steep. And then our job that we contracted with the state of California was to take these people. We do an intake process. We go through all the 4 dimensions of, what it takes to provide social services to people. One is occupational therapy, one is legal advocacy, and one is job training, and another is digital literacy. Wow. And digital literacy is something that really grew over the last couple of years because, especially in light of the pandemic, that's really caused a situation where, and I'm sure we know this, telehealth has become king.
Mm-hmm.
Like during that time when in 2020, when people were in a lockdown inside the house, inside their homes, and we had this extreme upsurge in mental health issues around every population in the world. And we're saying like, hey, look, we have a program where we can use telehealth and leverage that in order to provide programs that can help people to not only counteract that pandemic, but to also create a community around it.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like, there's kind of two different branches of outreach that you have. One to, people who may need services from Painted Brain, but also two community partners to help partner with you to fight the stigma and to work with you for, to help affect change in these people's lives.
Yeah, and the important thing here is that we're not here to say the conventional approach to treating mental health issues is wrong. We're not. Because among our staff, we have a lot of clinical social workers who actually help us in this area, and we're here to say that a mix of conventional and unconventional approaches to treating mental health is the way to go.
Yeah.
A,
No,
a mixture of conventional and unconventional, and that's our true. What should I call it? The purest aim that we have in terms of what we want to do with our work.
Yeah. So, you talked a little bit about fighting the stigma. What would you say the biggest misconception that people have either about Painted Brain or, mental health in general would be?
I would say that currently the paradigm that rules the mental health field is that we tend to focus on a medical model, which bases completely everything on pathology, what's wrong with the person, what we need to do to treat them with the right medications and the right therapy, and maybe they can have a life that can keep them out of being hospitalized for the greater part of their life. And to us, that bar is set way too low. We want to focus on the healthy half of human nature. We want to say that people who've had mental illnesses, severe ones, in fact, and let me add that three of our co-founders of the company all have experienced severe mental illnesses. And they want to prove to the world that we can actually create a successful social enterprise that creates revenue that we can use to further reinvest in our different programs. One of which, I have to say my favorite, is the Project New Start, where we help people who experience extreme barriers to getting employment to get employed. And we actually managed to successfully get currently 4 people to actually get employed and to do some of the things that we groom people to do, like a peer counselor. And especially during the pandemic, we actually partnered with SAMHSA. I don't know if you heard of SAMHSA, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration. So it's a government, it's a federal agency, and we did get a contract with them. And we actually, during this pandemic, we had peers. Now, let me define what peers means. Peers refers to people that have a lived experience of mental health and illness challenges who are in a recovery process. And in California, currently, now in 2020, they passed a new law called SB 803, which actually now makes it possible for people who don't have a degree in social work or psychology, but who have a firsthand experience of mental health challenges, and they want to be able to help people and bill Medi-Cal as a process throughout that. And that became a whole new revenue stream for us, that now we're offering trainings in peer support specialist certifications. And I have to say this, but California was the very last state in the nation to actually do this. Every other state, every 49 other states have actually been doing this. California is the last. And so our idea was that we can create jobs. We can create job opportunities for people But with people that do not have the resources to get a college education and to actually get them a job that can help other people in their recovery journey to overcome whatever there is that challenge they're having, and to even provide jobs for people through, the work that we do.
Yeah, you raised a really great point too, almost to, what they call like the systems approach. That, obviously medication is important too, but the environment is also important. Being social, that's important. The family system, that's important. So having all of those contributing factors that that Painted Brain is able to, intertwine themselves with, working on getting employment is so important to really the health and wellness, of people who are, battling mental health illnesses.
Yeah, in fact, the National Association of Mental Illness, which is a very family-oriented organization, it's a kind of a lobby group, but they really push towards the idea that families and the social circle can provide support to people who have been going through these challenges. And one thing I'll tell you is that the people that are experiencing problems like this are often isolated, alienated from society, and completely just cut off. And that's one of the worst things that can happen, because our suicide statistics, I'm sure you know about this, has been increasing year after year. And the problem with that is that we've been focusing way too much on a medical model of pathology. The idea that if we can find out what's wrong with people, we can fix them. And our approach is very different, because we're saying, okay, we focused enough on the unhealthy half of human nature. Let's now focus on the healthy half, what people can accomplish when they're given the resources and the support and the environment that can actually nurture the idea that we can overcome these challenges. And for me, social media has become an outlet, an unconventional way to reach people, to build that kind of a community where we can actually spread this message that, hey, look, the stigma is wrong. It's it's a misportrayal of what potential people are capable of accomplishing. And we mean to be a living testament to the idea that people who have had these experiences can, in fact, not only rise above their challenges, but can also create a profitable business.
So to your point about social media, talk to me a little bit about how Painted Brain, in your role specifically, you started off as running the social media. How have you worked to build out Painted Brain's name? Because you just said you've got over 100,000 followers now. That's amazing. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So the idea is, as I mentioned, unconventional approaches to recovery and to providing people with the means, the wherewithal to overcome their challenges. I first started in 2015. We had no department. Now, Painted Brain is an organization that's very unusual. If you have a good idea, you can get support for it. And not only that, but you can actually build it. So they hired me on as a social media manager back in 2016. And a year later, we became an official 501c3 nonprofit, which is like a major milestone for us, because for the last 10 years, okay, we weren't around for we were around since 2004. Our original founder found out that so many times that people who are receiving services are isolated from each other. They just go see their therapist, go there in groups, and then they go home, and that's it. And we found out that art is a universal conduit for the type of language that people can't express in words. And we created a community around that. And art therapy has been, proven by much science to actually help people. And so we started as an arts community project, creating a magazine. And then eventually we expanded to include hey, look, arts and technology. Nowadays, especially technology, we can't ignore that fact that it is the basis of so much of what we do now. Not to mention that after COVID, we had to, make adjustments. We lost many of the contracts with the states and local governments because we could not do in-person groups. due to COVID. And we actually was a very dangerous time for us because now we were forced to like, okay, what we're going to do? We lost 2/3 of our revenue stream. We were working with the state, and now we're being told that because of COVID, we cannot do many of these programs. So we began to latch on to the idea of telehealth. Telehealth has become like king in healthcare. I mean, nowadays, I know that we're now past that masking stage and the COVID. We kind of moved on. But yet, one thing that continues to stay is the idea of a hybrid working arrangement. People can work remotely, and the idea that people can get healthcare remotely.
Absolutely.
So we really built on that. And as part of the program that we do with the SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Agency, which is a federal agency, we provided crisis counseling through peers to other people who are experiencing problems during the pandemic. And from there, we sort of everything just started happening from there. Now we've seen that digital literacy is probably one of the most important things for people in the communities that we serve. So we found another revenue stream.
Yeah.
Many of the counties, including Santa Barbara, the Tri-Cities, the Pomona, Riverside County, they actually found out about us and they hired us to teach digital literacy to their clients.
Oh, wow.
Because nowadays, I mean, there's so many resources that's available on the internet. And oftentimes, and we have a digital divide. Let's face it, it's real. We know people that are on the wrong end of the digital divide tend to be people that are the most disadvantaged, and which includes people that had mental health struggles. So our job was to contract with these county agencies to not only teach their clients how to access resources and to use digital, technology, but to actually help their staff to also help people to do that.
Yeah.
And that has been our bread and butter over the last couple of years. In addition to the work that we do with helping people that have been previously being incarcerated to get employment. And I would have to say, like, just my opinion, but of all the therapies that I've had, I myself, I'm a peer. I've experienced challenges, and I found a way to channel that through the work that I do. And I have to say, like, part of the best form of therapy I've ever had is the kind of therapy where you can actually create something that can create value, something that can create profit, and something that can get a business off the ground. And that's exactly what we did.
That's fantastic. So you talked a little bit about peers, but, more specifically with, I'll call them clients who want to work with Painted Brain, or individuals rather. Do you have to be an adult? Do you have to have a clinically diagnosed, mental health condition? Talk to me a little bit about what, who can work with Painted Brain.
Okay, yeah, perfect. I'm glad you asked that. We do have a community center in the mid-city area of LA. To be perfectly exact, it's on Fairfax and Pico.
Okay.
The community center does not have an intake process. We do not put you through a questionnaire where you have to say you have this psychiatrist, you have this condition. We don't do that. It's open to the public. It's basically a drop-in center. And the moment you enter the community center, you'll find like a bunch of people creating art, running groups, creating technology projects. We do have a tech room and an art room. So the idea is that we want to completely eliminate the barriers that are often the case for people who are disadvantaged, who don't have the full resources that they need to get the help that they need. So our community center, we started that a while back. I mean, seriously, like 2009, we had a location long before we became an official nonprofit.
Yeah.
And I think it's the best metaphor to describe the kind of work that we do, because although we do talk about building an online community of support, we also talk about offline community where we can actually bring people together and form a support network. And take this as a fact, but studies have shown that our suicide statistics can be changed not by increasing the amount of Prozac that people can take or the amount of therapy services that are available, but actually providing a way for people to integrate with a community. And to do that, there's many different avenues: getting job training, getting gainfully employed, learning new tech skills, or peers becoming peer leaders who can help other people to do that. And recently, California, well, not so recent actually, 2020, California passed a law called SB 803, which is a law that says now people who have a lived experience of mental health challenges can now serve as counselors for other people who have the same situation and to bill Medi-Cal, which now creates a new revenue stream for us. We became a certified training provider. We now, I like to say that we're in California, we're listed as one of the vendors.
Yeah.
We're now giving trainings to people who want to get a certification as a peer specialist.
Yeah.
So now we're moving more from a grant and a county contracts model to revenue towards actually a service for fee for service. And we just see our agency moving upwards, and not only within California, but throughout the states, because our message is very simple. The standard medical model is limiting because it focuses way too much on disease, on what's wrong with people, and how we can fix those problems. And you know this, but if you focus too much on a problem, you get more of the same. We're here to say, like, hey, look, we're going to offer a new model of possibility where people who have been written off by society as unemployable can actually create a successful, profitable business.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we plan to do, and to build a nationwide digital footprint around that.
Yeah.
And in that process, we do a combination of arts, technology training, media outreach, and social media to build that kind of a community.
Yeah. So kind of talking about your national reach that you're looking to grow, talk to me a little bit about the community partners that you're able to partner with. How would somebody go about working with Painted Brain?
We do a lot of work with local agencies. One of the things that we do is homeless outreach. I don't know if you know of MacArthur Park, but it is considered one of the biggest tent cities around LA. And you know that LA has a major homeless problem. So many people that are homeless do not get the opportunity to get the help that they need. So we actually had interns. Now we have an internship program, and we work with USC, UCLA, and many of the local schools and people that are looking to get their master's in social work degree. We found a group of people who are interested in taking what's called an art card. It's a mobile art group that we can actually take, and we brought it to MacArthur Park to involve people. And while they're creating art, they also provided referrals to local services, social services around. There's many. If you look, if you know, there's many. So we would connect them with many community resources, and indirectly that would build our community as well.
Yeah.
We work with many mental health agencies, several that are well known in LA, including like D.D. Hirsch, Alcohol Center for Mental Health Services. We actually had a long-standing relationship with the LA County Department of Mental Health.
Okay.
We've done many contracts with them, and our most recent one is Disability Roundtable, where we actually discuss how we can create an inclusive community for people who are not only experiencing mental or emotional difficulties, but also physical disabilities. So the idea is creating an inclusive, safe space where people can find support, give support, and together to rise above this statistic that we have that's so depressing for many people, and say, hey, look, we have a completely different model. We offer a mix of conventional and unconventional approaches to mental health that's currently missing in our system. We hope that we're going to be able to make this more mainstream throughout the country.
And why do you think that's so important?
Because our suicide statistics have been increasing. Our mental health challenges, especially during the pandemic, has been increasing. And the pandemic really highlighted how much of a problem it is, not only for people that are officially on disability or officially been diagnosed, but just anyone. So much has happened. since 2020 when that pandemic hit. And more than anything else, it's really highlighted the fact that mental health has become front and center for many things, not just public health, public safety, but also, workplace, productivity, profitability. These things do affect that. And more companies are now beginning to pay serious attention to the mental health of their employees. This is no longer simply restricted to the community of mental health survivors. Now this is mainstream. And that's something that we've seen is very encouraging for us, because we want to dissolve the barriers between able and disabled, the whole concept of that, because it's a gray area, and the gray area is much bigger than the whole black and white, like you're either disabled or you're not. No, it's a continuum. And we all are working on ways to help our overall wellness. And this will affect the bottom line. And this is a fact. We know this. It's been proven countless times that the profitability of a company is definitely affected by the collective mental health of their employees.
I think you raised a lot of really great points, kind of talking about the sliding scale of, mental health, how people are affected by it, the importance of taking conventional and unconventional approaches to fighting the stigma of mental health and supporting people who are, struggling with that, both by reaching out to them, like you said, in again, conventional and unconventional ways, through art, through technology. I think that's absolutely fantastic. So, Kevin, if you wanted to leave our listeners with one little snippet, either about, Painted Brain or mental health or homelessness or anything really on your brain, what would you want to leave our listeners with?
We are reachable on social media. Our website is paintedbrain.org. We are on Twitter. It's on twitter.com/ our handle is @paintedbrain. On Instagram, we're also @paintedbrain. We do have a Facebook page. It's called Painted Brain LA. And our LinkedIn, we're actually Painted Brain. So we're available on all the channels. We also recently started to use TikTok to serve as like an educational, instructional channel for aspiring peer support specialists. And we do have a YouTube channel, and I encourage everyone to go check it out. And we're very big on social media. Our idea is that despite all the negative reputation that, social media companies have, it is possible to channel it towards a greater good, and that we can actually use that to create a community, to build a community, and to expand that around positive aims. So our handle on Twitter, @paintedbrain, Instagram, @paintedbrain, Twitter, Painted Brain, and Facebook, Painted Brain LA.
I think that's so important. And you raised a really great point about building community. I think that, certainly people who may be struggling with mental health illness, it's so important to hear that, one, they're not alone, that Painted Brain was started by 3 great individuals who are peers themselves, and really just having a safe space to be able to have an outlet to be themselves and to work on whatever they have to work on, kind of meeting them where they're at. And it sounds like that's the biggest thing.
That's a very important point you just made, because to answer your earlier question, we service people between age 18 and 55 plus.
Okay.
More increasingly now, the age range is tilting more towards the younger population. And we found that so many people in the younger population are very averse to seeking help. Furthermore, we do telehealth. We're building an online platform, and we found that younger people, the younger you get, the likelier you are to use platforms like TikTok, like Instagram, in order to find support. And we could actually use this as a positive force in what we do.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. It sounds like there is, like you said, a mental health movement, I think is what I'm going to call it, towards positive mental health. Specifically, the pandemic really highlighted the lack of mental health services that are accessible. And I think you said great that the telehealth is fantastic. Being able to have peers that you're reaching out to encourage, to educate, to outreach, to support, I think is absolutely fantastic. So I appreciate.
I know we're on something.
You are.
We're a mission-driven organization. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We do need to pay our bills to keep operating, but our ultimate goal is to use this to build a national platform that we can use to really transform some of the negative, depressing statistics that we have around suicide and around people that are homeless, and to equip them with resources and a supportive environment so that they can actually change
Yeah.
those statistics.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Well, Kevin, I think this has been a great conversation. I appreciate all of your insight, all of the statistics, and everything that you're doing to build Painted Brain's name. My brain wasn't working for a second there. Painted Brain's name, and continue that national outreach of the importance of mental health. Building a successful and accepting community is so important. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be on Business Ninjas today.
Thank you, Kelsey. It was great. It was a pleasure to talk with you.